Welcome to another video. All right, solid white opening there. Sometimes black will reply with d5. The computer says the best thing for white to do is to take. Okay, now in this case, you usually see two different reactions. Let's see. In this one, the knight comes up. Sometimes the queen takes. And then white's best move is to go here, making the queen move. And then the computer says white's next best move is here. Black comes there. So let's go back here. White takes. But instead of the queen taking, the knight comes up. Your pawn is not dead yet. Now what does the computer say is the next best move? It's saying bring the pawn up. But see, now the queen can take. Whoops. Now it's saying now the knight can come up. So we've got an exciting game going on here. Let's go back. All right, let's try this again. White comes up. Black does d5. The computer says white should take. Let's say the knight comes up. Now we know that the computer said white should go there, but then you're going to lose one of your pawns. But I saw a guy in a game do something really interesting. He brought his bishop up to say check. And this is something I've never seen before. So now black has to do something about that. What can black do? If black brings the pawn up, now you can take this pawn here, which was about to, whose days were numbered for sure, you can take him and take that pawn. Okay, now you've got the knight pinned to the king with your bishop. So that's one option for black, is to bring that pawn up. Another option is for the bishop to come out. Now you could, with white, you could take the bishop, and then they're going to recapture your bishop. And they'll recapture. Let's see how they do that. The queen will just take, and now your pawn is a sitting duck. If they do bring the bishop up, instead of taking, go back one. Okay. Now let's put this out of the way. And now you've managed to give your pawn a second chance here. He's not dead yet. Let's say bishop comes down. What do? Bring the pawn up. So the pawn lives to face another day. So that's an interesting way to solve it. Okay, so let's go back. He takes. Bishop comes up. So we've seen what happens when the pawn comes up. We've seen what happens when the bishop comes up. What happens if the knight comes up and blocks? Well, then the pawn can just take. Now what happens if this knight blocks? Well, now look, the queen's kind of pinned in, the bishop's pinned in, the king can't go anywhere, and then white can just proceed with their development. So it makes for an interesting, if you're playing white and you go e4 and they do this, always take, and if the queen doesn't take right away, let's say they bring the knight up. If the knight comes up, instead of doing the computer recommended move, which is that, which you could, I mean, if the computer recommends it, it must be pretty good. Instead of doing that, you could have some fun with this bishop and see what happens. Because you might be able to, depending on how they reply, you might be able to save this pawn.